And Congress is preparing to debate the reauthorization of the Higher Education Act in 2014. That's the law that governs how federal student aid is given out. But it looks like it won't pass without a little resistance. Student and consumer groups are using this as an opportunity to call on Congress to adopt a number of reforms urgently needed to restore fairness to the student loan system. This comes at a time when Americans now owe over $1 trillion in student loan debt, which is more than what is owed on credit cards. Additionally, tuition has increased over 500% since 1985 at public colleges. Not to mention that the average family incomes are lower than they were a decade ago, making it increasingly difficult for families to pay for college without loans. So here to talk about the proposals in place to fix the system, I'm joined by Natalia Abrams, co-founder of the group Student Debt Crisis. Natalia, thank you so much for joining me. So one of the biggest complaints of the student loan system is that it's very confusing. And I know from personal experience of borrowing lots and lots of money that it is a very complex system. Can you just talk a little bit about how challenging it can be for students to navigate that, just doing something as simple as filling out a financial aid application?
Right. We joke that you actually need a CPA to fill out your FAFSA.
Exactly.
Because it's just so complicated. And I think another problem is we don't know the actual sticker price. With interest rates, we saw the interest rate hike. We see tuition going up. When I was at UCLA, right after I graduated, they raised tuition 40%. So you don't know when you start school what you're going to end up graduating with, let alone what the interest rates will continue to rise and what you'll be paying 20 years later. Why can't it be like when you buy a car? You buy a car, it says after 5 years, this is what you're going to pay.
Exactly.
I think that's where we need to make it this simple one-page form and not this complicated thing to navigate for students.
I completely agree. And of course, something else that has been a point of contention are these nefarious repayment plans, right, which is the bane of my existence. Is there enough flexibility as it stands for students in how they pay, especially for students that are dealing with private loans? Because I know that that gets a little bit trickier.
Right. No. I mean, the simple answer is, of course not. There is actually nothing that we know of, and we've been working in this for 4+ years, out there for private student loans. We proposed a bill to Congress, the HR 1330, that would allow you to convert your private student loan into a federal student loan, so you could take advantage of IB, income-based repayment, pay as you earn. That's going nowhere because Representative John Klein is at the head of the Education and Workforce Committee, won't even let it out of committee. We need to do more for federal and private loans. Students need to be able to refinance. They need to be able to declare their loans in bankruptcy. They need to be able to negotiate the way they negotiate for a mortgage, especially if we're paying it off in 30 years like a mortgage. I mean, a student loan was never meant to be a mortgage payment, right, and now it is.
Exactly. As I understand it, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has received more than 3,800 complaints just in the last year from borrowers of private student loans. Can you talk about some of the other grievances that students are saying they have with the system?
Harassment. I mean, they're being stalked. I know of a student or of a borrower that has over 1,000 calls. They have called his sister-in-law's friend. I mean, the same type of protections that are out there for credit cards if you go into default, they're not there for students. And I don't know why we're punishing the people that are trying to better their lives more than we're punishing other sectors of the society. We're trying to pay for, this on the backs of students, and it's not fair, and I don't want to sound like a child saying it's not fair, but it's not fair. And
Natalia, you're here for a very specific reason in DC. You're not normally, you're advocating on behalf of all of these students. So tell us about who you're meeting with while you're here and what reforms you are advocating for.
So we are advocating for changing the higher education system. Part of the Higher Education Reauthorization Act is definitely something that we're concerned with. I've been meeting with labor organizations, nonprofits, grassroots, policy think tanks. We have over 40 organizations working on a student debt campaign to tackle 4 buckets of work. We want to tackle the $1.2 trillion of the existing borrowers out there. We want to investigate the role of Wall Street with the lending system. We want to address quality and affordable education. And we want to work on civic engagement and political engagement, on essentially electoralizing student debt. Millennials are a huge voting bloc, and we need to drive them out to the polls to vote for student debt reformers in Congress and our legislator.
Sure. And interestingly, the Department of Education, this is something that's sort of making waves on the internet, is actually making huge profits off of borrowers.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that. In the last fiscal year, the department took in $42.5 billion, which is the second highest profit ever. What do you make of that?
So I think it's best just to quote Senator Elizabeth Warren on this,
Okay.
where she believes that we should invest in our students, not make obscene profits off of them. It is an abomination. It is obscene to be I do not understand why the Department of Education is a profit-making entity, period.
Well said, and good move to quote Warren. Natalia Abrams, co-founder of the group Student Debt Crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much.